Alright, so this is a worksheet on multiplying and dividing rational numbers. Let's just get through it. 8 over 21 times 7 over 16. You can just divide, you can multiply straight across and get 56. 8 times 7 is 56, and then 21 times 16. But that's going to make your numbers a little larger, like 21 times 16. So if you could simplify anywhere in the numerator with the denominators, then simplify. For example, 8 and 16 have a common factor of 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 16 divided by 8 is 2. 7 divided by 1 is, let me use a different color here, 2 and 1. And then we got 7 and 21. 7 goes into 7 once, 7 goes into 21 3 times, and then that makes your math a lot easier. 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 2 is 6, so 1/6. Alright, going straight across. 9 and 15, divide by 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 14 and 10, divide by 2, 7, 5. 3 times 7 is 21. 5 times 5 is 25. All right, and sometimes you don't see the greatest common, you don't see the greatest factor, and you might have to reduce 2 times. But let's see how that goes. All right, so 35, 25 both end in a 5, so they're both divisible by 5. 35 divided by 5 is 7. 25 divided by 5 is 5. 14 and 49 divided by 7, you get 2. Divided by 7, you get 7. And now here's an example of what I just said. Now you have 2 7s here, those 2 7s cross out, and you're just left with 2 over 5. Okay, 21 and 27 both have, both are divisible by 3. 21 divided by 3 is 7. 27 divided by 3 is 9. 25 and 20 are both divisible by 5. That goes in there 4 times, that goes in there 5 times. 7 times 8, 7 times 4 is 28. 5 times 9 is 45. All right, moving right along. Now we got a negative side, a negative times a positive. So a negative times a positive is going to be a negative, so my answer is going to be negative something. 12 and 36, both divisible by 12. 12 goes in there once, 12 goes into 36 3 times. 5 and 35 again. 5 goes into 25 5 times. 5 goes into 35 7 times. So 1 times 7 is 7. 5 times 3 is 15. So negative 7/15 is the answer. All right, another negative times a positive here, so my answer is going to be negative. Negative times a positive is a negative. 8 and 32, 8 goes into 8 itself once, and into 32 4 times. 15 and 21, both divisible by 3. That goes in there 5 times. 3 goes in there 7 times. 1 times 7 is 7. 5 times 4 is 20. So negative 7 over 20. All right, next group here. The parentheses are optional here. You don't have to put the parentheses. Sometimes books do that to go in there, but let's see. So positive, negative, is going to be a negative. Positive times a negative is going to be a negative. 13 and 143. 13 goes into 13 once. 13 goes into 143 actually 11 times. 21 and 14, divisible by 7. That goes in there twice. That goes in there 3 times. So 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 11 is 22, giving you negative 3 over 22. 25 over 32, and negative 44 and 55. 11 goes into 44 4 times. 11 goes into 55 5 times. And then I can see, well, this is a 5, this is a 25, so 5 goes into itself once. 5 goes into 25 5 times, so I'm reducing multiple times here. 4 goes into itself once, and 4 goes into 32 8 times. This is positive, this is negative. Positive times a negative is a negative, and you're just left with negative 5 over 8 after reducing twice. Number 9 is a negative times a negative. Negative times a negative is going to be a positive, so my answer is going to be positive here. 8 goes into 16 twice. 8 goes into 24 3 times. 3 goes into 21 7 times. 3 goes into 15 5 times. 2 times 5 is 10. 7 times 3 is 21. So positive 10 over 21. Number 10, negative times a negative, again, positive. 75 and 25. 25 goes into 75 3 times. 25 goes into 25 once. 16 and 80, this is a little more challenging, but 16 does go into itself once, and 16 does go into 80 5 times, leaving me with just positive 3/5. All right, so here's multiplication of 3 numbers. So any 3 numbers, any numbers in the numerator can simplify with any numbers in your denominator. All right, so for example, I have a 3, 5, 4, and does any one of these 3, 5, or 4 simplify with anything in the denominator? And the answer is yes. Before that, I'm going to take care of my signs. I have a negative, a positive, and a negative. So if I did this, a negative times a positive, these two would come out to be negative. Right, so if I just multiply these two, I will get a negative number, and then a negative number times another negative number, and that will ultimately give me a positive number. All right, so 4 and 12 simplify. 4 goes into 4 once and into 12 3 times. Once I did that, my 3's simplify here, going into each other one time. My numerators are 1, 5, and 1, which is just going to be 5. 7, 1, and 5 is going to be 35, but I just realized there that my 5's are actually going to simplify as well. So that's going to turn 1, and that's going to turn into a 1. So my numerators are just 1 times 1 times 1, just 1. And my denominator is 7 times 1 times 1, which is just 7, so 1/7. So it's nice how they work out like that sometimes. All right, so a negative, a positive, a negative. All right, this is also going to be positive. A negative times a positive is a negative, and a negative times a negative is going to be a positive. All right, so let's see what simplifies. Well, here's a 3, here's a 3. We turn those into 1s. Here's a 2. Here's a 6. That goes in there 3 times. And my numerators are just 1s, so nothing else is going to simplify there. So 1 times 1 times 1. 1 times 3 times 4 is going to be 12. 1/12. All right, number 13. Let's see what we got here. My 5 simplify. My 6's simplify. And I'm just left with a 3 times 3 into 7. But this time I have a negative times a negative times a negative. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive, and then times a negative is going to be a negative. So your answer is going to be negative. 3 times 1 times 1 is just 3. 1 times 1 times 7 is just 7. So negative 3/7 is my answer. All right, negative times a negative times a negative. You're going to have an answer as a negative. All right. Let's see what simplifies. 7 goes into 7 once. 7 goes into 49 7 times. 36 and 9. 9 goes into itself once and into 36 4 times. 4 and 8. 4 goes into itself once and into 8 twice. Leaving me with 1 times 1 times 4, which is 4. 1 times 2 times 7, which is 14. And if you got that far and you realize, well, they're both evens, then you can simplify this again. So here in this step, if you simplify this one more time there, you would have noticed that 2 goes into 4 once, and 2 goes into 2 once, and then that would have simplified to 2/7. But again, if you didn't realize it on that step, you could easily do it on this step here. All right, next one, 2 negatives. This is going to be a negative times a negative times a positive. It's going to be positive. All right, negative times a negative is a positive, and a positive times a positive is a positive. All right, what simplifies here? 33 and 11. 11 goes into 33 3 times. 11 goes into itself once. We got 8 and 40. 8 goes into itself once. 8 goes into 40 5 times. And then I noticed 3 and 18. 3 goes into itself once. 3 goes into 18 6 times. My numerators are 1, 17, and 1, and that's just going to be 17. My denominator is going to be 5, 6, and 1, or just 30. So 17/30 will be my final answer there. And writing positive 30 is optional, okay? All right, so 2 negative numbers here again. Negative times a negative is a positive. Positive times a positive is also going to be a positive. So my answer is going to be positive here. Let's see what goes into what. So 11 and 55. 11 goes into itself once, into 55 5 times. Here's 5 and 10. So 5 goes into itself once, and 5 goes into 10 twice. So that takes care of that. 48 and 36. 12 goes into 36 3 times. 12 goes into 48 4 times. Let's see what else can simplify here. So I have a 2 and a 4. I have a 3 and a 21. 2, 4, 3, 21. There's nothing divisible there. So 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 21 is going to be 63. And nothing else can simplify there. So positive 8/63. 18. These are actually 2 examples we're not going to do in the 7th grade level. We will do these at the algebraic level, but not too different than what we're doing now. So forget about the variables for a second. Same technique, 15 and 5. 5 goes into itself once, 5 goes into 15 3 times. 8 and 24, 8 goes into itself once, 8 goes into 24 3 times, and then both my 3's here will simplify, going into 1 and 1. So all my constants are gone. So I have just 1 times 1 here, and then I have 1 times 1 here, so I have 1 over 1 really, and that's just 1. And then my variables here, well, if you have the same variables in the numerator and denominator, here's an x, and here's an x, so those go away. So what's left is just a y, so it's really just 1 over 1y, or just 1 over y will be the final answer here. So an x will cancel out with an x, a y will cancel out with a y. All right, and this will be more in depth in algebra class. 16a over 21, so let's see what it goes. So 7 and 21, 7 goes into 7 once, goes into 21 3 times. 16 and 8 both divisible by 8, goes in there twice, goes in there once. There's an x in the numerator, there's an x in the denominator, those go away. Here's an a, here's a y, there's no other a's or y's anywhere around. So you have 2 times a times 1, or just 2a, and you have 3 times 1 times y, or just 3y. So 2a over 3y. But again, these type of questions won't be addressed on any tests or quizzes as of yet in the 7th grade level. They'll be addressed on the 8th grade or algebra level. Alright, so these are similar again. Just go through these as quick as we can. AB, xy, x, b squared, okay? Just to do these, so 5 and 25. 5 goes into 25 5 times, goes into itself once. 24 and 8, 8 goes into 8 once, 24 3 times. So this would just be 3 over 5, which is my 3 times 1, 5 times 1. Alright, if we did the variables, here's an x, that goes away with an x. There's a y in the numerator, so there's no y's in the denominator, so the y will stay. There's an a in the numerator, there's no a's in the denominator, so the a will stay. There's a b in the numerator, and there's b squared in the denominator, so there's actually 2 b's in the denominator, so this one will go, and you'll actually keep one of those b's. So it'll be 3ya over 5b. Alright, and moving on, so 15 and 5, 15 and 5 divisible by 5, goes in there 3, goes in there once. 8 and 4, 8 and 12 divisible by 4, this goes in there twice, goes in there 3 times. The 3's will simplify, 3 over 3, leaving me with just 2 over 1, or 2. Alright, and then why not? Let's just do the variables. Here's an a, here's 1a in the numerator, 2 a's in the denominator, so 1a cancels out with 1a, leaving me 1a in my denominator. There's a b in the numerator, there's 1b in the denominator, so the b's will cancel out. There's 2 x's in the numerator, 1 x in the denominator, so one of those x's will go away. And then there's 1y and 1y in both the numerator and denominator, so you'll just get 2x over 1a. Alright, back to the problems without the variables. 8 over 15 divided by 6 over 25. Alright, so now we got to take one extra step here. Okay, so since we have division, we're going to keep that first one, change division into multiplication, and then flip or take the reciprocal of that second number. So this is keep, change, flip. So 8 over 15 times 25 over 16, and then we go about this the same way we've been doing the rest of the problems. Alright, 25 and 5, both divisible by 5, 1 and 5, 8 and 16, both divisible by 8, 1 and 2, and you're just left with 5 over 2. Alright, keep, change, flip again. 18 over 19 times 95 over 12. Okay, 19 actually goes into 95 a few times. So 95 divided by 19 is actually going to be 5. So 1 and 5. 18 and 12 both divisible by 6. 3 and 2. 3 times 5 is 15. 2 times 1 is 2. So 15 over 2 is an improper fraction. Alright, number 23, positive divided by a negative, same rules as multiplication, so this is going to be a negative answer. So I'm going to do this one right on top here. So we got 5 over 12 times 4 over 3, and my answer is going to be negative because a positive divided by a negative is a negative. Simplify as much as you can. 4 and 12 becomes 1 and 3. 5 times 1 is 5. 3 times 3 is 9. Negative 5 ninths. Positive times a negative, negative. Keep. Change division to multiplication. Flip that second fraction into its reciprocal here and start simplifying. 7 and 21 becomes 1 and 3, both divisible by 7. 4 and 16 becomes 4 and 1. So you're just left with 4 over 3, negative. Negative 2/9 divided by negative 11/15. All right, keep change flip. Negative divided by negative. Positive. 2/9 times 15/11. Keep change flip. What simplifies? 9 and 15. This goes in there 3 times. That goes in there 5 times. Anything else? Nope. 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 11 is 33. So 10/33 is your final answer. Again, negative divided by negative is going to be a positive. Keep your first fraction, change division to multiplication, take the reciprocal of second number. 4 goes in there twice, in there once. 5 times 1 is 5. 2 times 1 is 2, and you get 5/2. Negative divided by positive, negative. 4/9 times 9/8. 9's go away, thank you. 4's go into 1, and you're just left with negative 1/2. 7/10 times 5/4. Negative divided by positive, negative. What simplifies? 1 and 2. 7 times 1 is 7. 2 times 4 is 8. Negative 7/8. This one, negative 7/8 divided by 14. Again, negative divided by positive is a negative. I would make this 14/1 just for visuals. And that will give you 7/8 times 1/14 if you want to look at it that way. All right, and then 1 goes into 7. 7 goes to itself once. Into 14 twice. You're just left with 1 times 1, which is 1, and 8 times 2, which is 16. So negative 1/16 is your answer. All right. Again, this is 15/1. Negative divided by positive is a negative. So this is going to be 5/6 times 1/15. Both divisible by 5. 1 times 1 is 1. 6 times 3 is 18. And negative divided by positive is a negative. Negative 1/18. Alright, so these are more algebraic. I'll probably skip these for now, but it's going to be the same kind of concept, so keep change flip, but I'm going to skip those for now. We'll come back to those. Number 35 and 36. Mixed numbers divided by whole numbers here. Give myself a little extra room on this one. 13/1/3 times 5. You have to change your mixed numbers into improper fractions. 13 times 3 is 39, plus 1 is 40/3. Right? So 13 times 3, 39, plus 1, 40, 40 divided by 3. Times 5/1. Right? Every whole number is going to be over 1 here. And you're just going to get 5 times 40 is 200. 200/3, and that'll be your final answer. This again is going to be 12 times 5 plus 4 all over 5. So 12 times 5 is 60. 60 plus 4 is 64/5 times 8/1. Nothing happens to simplify there, so you just have 64 times 8. You got 512/5 as an improper fraction. And if you want to convert, you can convert again. Just divide 5 into 512. That goes in there once. Bring down your 0. Bring down your 1. Goes into 1 0 times. Bring down your 2, goes into 12 twice, and your remainder is 102 and 2/5. That's an improper fraction, as in mixed number. All right, now we have division. We have 14/4 divided by 5. So same thing here, but before you do anything, you gotta make that mixed number into a improper fraction. 14 times 4 is 56, plus 1 is 57. 57/4 here, divided by 5/1 or times 1/5. So keep, change, flip. Keep the first fraction, change division to multiplication, and take the reciprocal of the second number. 57 and 5, nothing simplifies, so you're just left with 57/20. All right, 9 1/3. 9 times 3 is 27. 27 plus 1 is 28/3. Division turns into multiplication times 1/6. All right, 6 and 28 both even, so 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 28 14 times, and you're left with 14 times 1 or 14. 3 times 3, 9, and you get 14 over 9. Two mixed numbers. Convert both mixed numbers into improper fractions. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus 3 is 15 over 4 times 1 times 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. 9 over 5. I'm not changing my fractions. I'm not dividing here. 5 goes into 5 once. Goes into 15 3 times. 3 times 9 is 27. 4 times 1 is 4. So 27 over 4. Negative times a positive. Negative. Notice I'm always doing my signs first, right? Makes it easier. Negative times a positive. Negative. 2 times. So neglect the negative sign when you're converting into a mixed number. So you're only just focusing on this part here. So not negative 2 times 3 is just 2 times 3, 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. So this is 8 over 3. Times 4 times 6 is 24. Plus 1 is 25. 25 over 6. Okay, 8 and 6 are both even. 2 goes into 8 4 times. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 4 times 25 is 100. 3 times 3 is 9. So 100 over 9. Do not forget your negative sign. So negative 100 over 9. Last one here. Negative 5 and 3/4 divided by 6 and 2/3. Again, a negative divided by positives, negatives. Forget the negative sign. 5 times 4 is 20. 20 plus 3 is 23 over 4. Divided by, I'll keep the division sign, I'll do this in 2 steps. 6 times 3 is 18. 18 plus 2 is 20. So divided by 20 over 3. Remember, you're going to keep the first fraction, so 23 over 4. Change division to multiplication, and then 3 over 20 when you flip these over. 23, 4, nothing happens to simplify here. So 23 times 3 is 69 over 80. And don't forget that you had a negative sign here because one number is positive, one number is negative. So negative 69 over 80 would be your final answer here. 42, negative divided by negative is going to be a positive. All right, so I'm going to do this in 2 steps first. I'm going to make everything an improper fraction first before I start to keep, change, flip anything. Alright, so 9 times 3 is 27, so now I'm going to convert this fraction. 9 times 3 is 27, plus 2 is 29. 29 over 3, divided by 3 times 6 is 18, plus 1 is 19. 19 over 6. Then I'm going to do keep, change division into multiplication, and flip that second fraction to its reciprocal, and then simplify away. So 6 and 3, 3 goes in there once, goes in there twice. 29 times 2 is 58. 1 times 19. And then you'll have 58 divided by 19, which does not simplify. So you're just going to leave it as 58 over 19 as an improper fraction. Alright, keep them going. A couple more to go. Negative 8 times 3 and 3/4. So this is really negative 8 over 1. So 8 over 1 times negative 3 and 3/4. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 3 is 15. 15 over 4. Negative times positive negative. So my answer is going to be negative. 8 and 4 both simplify by 4. This turns into 1, this turns into a 2. 2 times 15 is 30. 30 over 1, or just negative 30. Alright, negative 12 times 6 and 2/3. Negative 12 over 1, or just negative times a positive negative, so I got 12 over 1 times 6 and 2/3, 18. 6 times 3 is 18. 18 plus 2 is 20. 20 over 3. Notice that 3 goes in there once, 3 goes in there 4 times, and you have 4 times 20, or 80. So negative 80. Alright, so we got division here again. So 4 and 1/4. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 1 is 17, so 17 over 4. Divided by negative 2 and 1/2, or 5 over 2. I'm going to forget about the negative sign right now, because I know this is positive. Divided by negative is going to be a negative, so my final answer is going to be negative here. So I got 17 over 4 times 2 over 5. The 2 and the 4 simplify to 2 and 1. 17 over 10. So negative 17 over 10 is my final answer. 3 and 1/3. Positive divided by negative. It's going to be a negative. 3 and 1/3 is 10 over 3. divided by 2 times 5 is 10, plus 2 is 12, 12 over 5, so I got 10 over 3 times 5 over 12, 10 and 12 simplify to 5 and 6, 5 times 5, 25, 6 times 3, 18, so you got 25 over 18. And a couple more, let's scroll down a little bit. Negative 3 3/4 times negative 2 4/5. Negative times a negative, positive. Okay, now I can neglect the signs. 3 3/4, 3 times 4 is 12, plus 3 is 15 over 4, times 2 times 5 is 10, plus 4 is 14, 14 over 5. Beautiful. 15 and 5 simplify, 3 and 1. 5 goes in there both. 2 goes in 4 and 14, goes in there twice, goes in there 7 times. 3 times 7 is 21, 2 times 1 is 2, so you're just left with 21 over 2. Okay, multiplication again, negative times a negative, positive. 6 times 4, 24, plus 3 is 27 over 4, times 3 times 9 is 27, 27 plus 5 is 32, 32 over 9. Okay, 4 goes into 32, 4 goes into 4 once, 4 goes into 32 8 times. 9 goes into itself once, 9 goes into 27 3 times, so 3 times 8, 24. Alright, last set here. Division again, so negative 6 and 1/4. Negative divided by negative, positive is going to be negative. So we're going to neglect the signs here. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 1 is 25 over 4. And multiply by 6 over 5. Keep, change, flip. 5s go away. Divide both by 5, divide both by 2. And you're left with 15 over 2 here, or negative 15 over 2, not forgetting our signs. Negative divided by positive, negative. 5 1/4, 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 is 21 over 4, times 4/5, flip it, 5/4. 21 and 4, nothing happens to simplify there, so 21 times 5 is 105, 4 times 4 is 16, so 105 over 16 is my final answer. Multiplication, negative times a positive, negative, 8 times 4, 32, 32 plus 3, 35 over 4 times 1 over 5. 5 and 35, that turns into a 7, that turns into a 1, so you're just left with 7 over 4, but make sure you don't put it back to the negative sign here, so negative 7 over 4. Negative times a positive, negative. 5 times 5, 25 plus 3, 28 over 5 times 1 over 7. 7 goes into 7 once, 7 goes into 28 4 times, and left with just 4/5. So the answer is going to be negative 4/5. Two more. Negative 5 1/4 divided by negative 2 2/3. Negative divided by negative, positive. 5 times 4, 20 plus 1, 21 over 4. Divided by 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8, 8 over 3. Keep, change, flip. Keep, first fraction. Change division to multiplication, flip, or take the reciprocal of the second fraction. What goes away? I have 3 and 4, 3 and 8. That doesn't go away, so nothing actually goes away in this one. 21 times 3 is 63. 8 times 4 is 32, so just simply 63 over 32. And last but not least, negative divided by negative, again, also positive. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus 3 is 15 over 4. Divided by 2 times 5 is 10, plus 4 is 14. 14 over 5. Keep my first fraction, change division to multiplication, and 5 over 14. 15 over 4, 5 over 14. Nothing happens to go away there, so 5 times 15 is 75, and 16 is 4 times 14 is 56, so 75 over 56.